You're in charge.
Okay, you're good.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order the Gateway Community Charter Board meeting on October 27th at 5 p.m. today. Thank all of you for being here. Roll call. Mr. Anderson,
Here.
Mr. Block. We will note that when he comes in. Mr. Mandrick,
Here.
Mr. Turner,
Here.
Lily Campbell, present. Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome, Dr. Peterson, our superintendent, our cabinet members. Thank you for being here, our administrative assistant. We're so glad to see you, and we welcome all of you who are with us online, virtual today. So thank you for being with us, and we will move into our regular board meeting. Mr. Sample or Mrs. Contreras, do we have any public comments this afternoon?
Madam President, there have been no public comments that have came in.
Okay, all right. So with that, we will move right into our board agenda. Again, thank you everyone for being here, and we shall hope to have a very productive board meeting. With that, we will go to our superintendent's update. Dr. Peterson.
Well, hello to everyone, to our wonderful GCC board, as well as everyone who might be watching online. It is a beautiful fall day, and I am honored to be here with the board. I am having a little bit of difficulties with my internet being unstable, so may have to give me some messages if it's not working, but at this point, I would like to update the board on a variety of things. Cabinet has been attending the Charter School Development Center Leadership Update this week, and we have 2 more days, which is the reason why we started a few minutes late today in order to be present for the always exciting Charter School Finance Update. Mr. Business was glued to his screen for all of that, as were the rest of Cabinet. So we have so far seen both a part 1 and a part 2 of the annual update from Eric Premack, attended Charter Finance. I have attended a couple of systems and SEL workshops, and I know others have also attended a variety of things, including some legal updates specific to all of the various HR complications and challenges of COVID. So a lot of good information. I really want to affirm staff for managing all of this detail. So along with that, this week I was able to attend a UCLA conference called The Courage to Lead, about women's narratives in times of crisis. A number of staff were present for the Sacramento County Office of Education's fall curriculum breakfast. No breakfast, but it was called a breakfast, but you had to bring your own breakfast, but it was still a good event. So we've been doing that. Also, since we were together with you, we have attended the Best Places to Work ceremony. And we were, in fact, honored to receive the, we placed second in the large category. The only one beating us out, I believe, was the Safe Credit Union. So while we have not had time to celebrate that with you, this is, I believe, our 4th time of placing as one of the best places to work. And we are just as excited as we were the other 3 times. Dr. McCormick and Mr. Sample and I are continuing to move the equity work forward. Dr. McCormick and I had multiple meetings this last week and also met with our consultants, Hanover Research, regarding our next steps. We're very excited to be continuing the depth of the work around equity with our campuses. We will keep you informed about that. We recently had a large central office meeting, again without food. You know, it just really goes to show you how many of our meetings used to be about the food. And now, it's actually about the meeting. But we started our book study, which is about Eat the Frog, which is almost sounding like it's about food, but it's really not about food. But so it was a lot of good connection to come together with everybody in the central office, even if it was virtual. Recently, we have also been a part of Gateway International School's International Baccalaureate visit. Definitely want to affirm both President Lily Campbell as well as board member Mark Anderson, who both participated in that visit with the visiting team. The outcome so far has been incredibly positive, and in fact, the members communicated that it was clear that our school community was very supportive and that we were a family, and that if they lived in California, they would like to work for GIS, which is the ultimate compliment. You will remember this is their PYP program visit. So definitely want to give a shout out to Principal Miss Joy DeCoy, as well as curriculum coach Elizabeth Call, who was instrumental in organizing significant parts of this, as well as their entire staff, of course, for all of their hard work to make this happen. Very proud of Gateway International School. Since we last saw you, in fact, it was moments after we last saw you, and we attended the Yolo County Office of Education board meeting in order to give our EPIC annual report. The report was very well received by board members. I want to definitely affirm Dr. Kosh, Dr. McCormick, Mr. Thornsberry, and Mr. Sample, who together created an A-team to present that information to the Yolo County Office of Education. There was one member whose comments were related to our ongoing work to increase cultural diversity at our campus. Other than that, all of the comments were supportive, and everything went very well, and the board received our annual report in a positive manner. I have been following up with around 10 or so people who have recently retaken a 360-degree feedback that's called the Traction Plan with Flippin Group, and talking to people about their personal growth and their growth plans and their growth journey, and have really enjoyed hearing how people are just really still engaged in their personal growth journey and their professional growth journey during the time of COVID. And it's always a great blessing as a superintendent to build our leaders and to continue to build up our leaders and to help them in their journey. The superintendent fall presentations, I feel like there should be like a big drum roll, have finally concluded. Okay, so this last week, finishing on Friday of this last, I know, it was a big deal. I think I did 12 this year. But there was CCCS K-8 and COA Middle School were both on Friday, and earlier in the week we did COA Elementary. So all of the fall presentations have been completed. And definitely want to affirm Jason and Christine, who both do a lot of work to support me in creating content for those and ensuring that I'm well prepared technologically before I step before the screen, so to speak. But sometimes I feel like they're the behind the screen Oz, and I'm just the big Oz face or something. But anyway, we did a good job as a team to get that information out to everybody. And again, a lot of really good feedback that the fall presentations, as well as our spring and our coffee with the superintendent, are appreciated by the community as another way to create connection and belongingness. So we will be starting the virtual coffee with the superintendent meetings. We usually actually start those in January. So we just will start our scheduling of them. And you will remember that Coffee with the Superintendent is the one of the 3 presentations I do at each site where it's actually not a presentation. So it's going to be interesting because it is more of a conversation. And so we'll figure out how to have interesting conversations instead of me being a talking head. We also have begun the initial stages of planning for what we hope will be 4 GCC Campfire Sessions this year. And a campfire session is a place where we share interesting ideas and maybe a little time for people to interact with those interesting ideas with us to help us all grow and to also just really have our leadership mindset be shared throughout the whole organization. The Campfire Sessions will be a y'all come, anybody will be invited in the whole organization. Our first of these will be the first week of November and will be around the topic of upstream thinking that we have talked to you before. It will be a bit of a panel presentation I hope to facilitate. We have a number of our up and coming leaders who have read the book and are going to add value to the discussion around what does it mean to get upstream. Okay. We are halfway through the fall cohort of Crucial Conversations and are already planning for the second Crucial Conversation cohort, which will be in the spring. We're also trying to plan a promised Leadership Development Academy, which we have not done in a couple years, but we are really trying to be careful that we don't overwhelm people with too many offerings. So might have to do that one the first of the year. Remember, Leadership Development Academy, like the Campfire Sessions, are purely voluntary, so no one has to take them on. No one's required to. We did want to let you know that Twin Rivers is in the middle of a surplus property process. They have commissioned a 7-Eleven committee to look at surplus district properties. They are not the only district in the area that's doing that. It has to do with regulatory changes that have allowed districts at this time to be able to sell surplus property and use the funds for one-time purposes. In the past, they had to sell their surplus property and only use it for facilities. So it's an interesting time out there, but Twin Rivers has started this process, and one of the properties that they are considering is the former Campus Verdes school site, which you will recognize is the site that we have COA Middle School and CCCS K-8 on. So we want to keep you aware that we are monitoring that process of surplusing that property. We have a number of strategies in order to continue working with the district, but it is something that we will be monitoring. You may or may not know that our very own Mr. Sample, I believe for the second or third time, is on the Twin Rivers 7-Eleven committee as a community representative, I believe, Mr. Sample, or is it a different title than that?
That is correct, community rep.
So he is not necessarily representing GCC, but he is certainly there representing the community, which is our community. And he, of course, will keep us informed of the process as well. I want you to know that AXA continues to be a huge support for us and our success in a variety of ways. We do have a number of people in cabinet who are involved in AXA Region 3. Wait, I think everybody in our cabinet is somehow involved in an office in AXA Region 3. Anyway, I'm proud of all of them for their participation. And as you may remember, after stepping down from Women's Leadership Network, I am now involved as the Region 3 Superintendent's Leadership Council representative, which is quite an honor. And they continue to meet weekly, and the information they're sharing is highly valuable to us to understand what's happening in the state and to have many great resources towards what we're trying to do. I do want to give a shout out in particular, again, to Gateway International School. We have a variety of schools, as you know, and you're going to hear more about that, who are in various phases to open. but our Gateway International School did in fact bring quite a few people back on campus this last week. They were very courageous. They were using all of their Be Brave. I believe they were bringing back TK, K, and is it just TK and K, Jason, or TK?
TK through second.
TK through second back in a hybrid, I believe. So lots of fear, but fear that was faced. And I know Jason has been on campus and seen, and just really the people that are coming back are really enjoying that experience of being back. So we are again letting you know how much we are committed to professional growth and development. I talked to you about the central office, who is doing a deep book study around Eat That Frog. It's related to their work on their WPI and their personal excellence plans. The executive cabinet, which is all of cabinet and our directors, just completed a book study on the languages of appreciation. And they're starting a new book called Standout 2.0, which is all about assessing your strengths in the workplace in order to gain an edge. And then lastly, Mr. Sample and I have been invited for the second year to participate in a cohort with a CALSA executive leadership group, and Dr. Christine McCormick will be starting her first year in a separate cohort with CALSA executive leadership group. So we are learning, we are growing, our brains are full, and just very proud of our organization and their commitment to continue to grow. So that's my report, Madam President.
Thank you. I'm so tired. Just listen to everything that you guys are doing. My gosh, I don't see how you can keep going this way. Board members, any? Yes.
Can I say what? Can I say one more thing? I forgot to say is that this last weekend was Mark Anderson's birthday, and I want to wish him a happy birthday.
Hello and happy birthday to you, sir. Thank you very much. Board members, comments, questions, acclamations. Well, thank all of you for everything that you're doing. I did receive a letter from the county office about EPIC, and they were very pleased with what they saw and what's going on. So I wanted to bring that to the board's attention, that the letter was very positive about EPIC and what's happening. So thank you for that. All right. Anything else, board members? Thank you guys so much for everything that you're doing. I don't know how you're keeping up with it, but I guess you are. So thank you. And with that, we will move into study session, comprehensive support and improvement. And be aware, board members, please be aware that two of these items are on our consent agenda. So if you have questions or concerns or comments, please make sure after each report you address those, because it will be on the consent agenda items. All right. So with that, Madam Superintendent, comprehensive support and improvement.
I believe that we are going to hear from Dr. Christine McCormick on this item.
All right. Very good.
You are. Hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes.
Great. Just wanted to give you an update on the comprehensive and support and improvement process. It has changed a little bit this year from what you've seen in the past. So a little background. This process is an element of the Every Student Succeeds Act, so part of ESSA. There are two criteria in which a school can be identified to be a comprehensive or a CSI school is what they call it. So we have 3 of our schools that were identified, and that is CCCS, and they were identified for their graduation rate, and then HLA and EPIC were identified for they're part of what a bucket of the lowest performing 5% of Title I schools. So this process has been an element of ESSA for a while. They're just calling it something different. It was introduced last year. So in the past, they would have included their comprehensive support and improvement plan as part of their LCAP, but because of the pandemic, not having to create an LPAC this year. They've had to create a separate plan. So that's what you're going to see in the consent agenda later. So just some highlights. They have to develop this plan based on the California School Dashboard. They have to make sure that they are listening to their stakeholders. They'll conduct a needs assessment. There are some requirements that their plan has what's considered an evidence-based intervention. So there's a list of interventions they can choose from. If there were multiple schools, and they had to determine if money was being spent equally, then they would have to do a resource and equity study. But because it's our single schools, you will see that area not as identified. Okay, and then part of the process, as I mentioned, is because of the COVID pandemic, they're not doing it. Their plan is part of the LCAP. So there are 3 elements of their plan. The first is pretty simple. They just have to identify their school. The bulk of the plan is built in prompt 2, which has to go into how they engage their stakeholders, what they did to conduct their needs assessment, how they're going to select their evidence-based interventions. And then prompt 3 is really their ongoing progress monitoring. So they need to not only develop the plan, have their stakeholders agree that this is the plan that they will help work forward, but what's their plan to do the constant checking and revisiting to ensure that they're making progress. Okay, so the plan development process for all of our schools was very similar. It was really integral, a partnership with Lead Teach Learn 360, Wendy York, our consultant that's been supporting the development of the coherence plans. The CSI plans are very embedded in that work. So I really would like to affirm Wendy for expanding the work that she has done to really pull all these plans together. So it's not another item on the shelf. It's really embedded in the work of each school. And she assisted in several meetings with helping them gather data for the needs assessment, really digging into what their plan had and how they would pick interventions that match the criteria. And then she'll be following up with the progress monitoring as we continue to move forward. So after your approval tonight, we will submit our plans to our county offices of education respectively. They do have the ability to review and request revisions if they do not feel that we have identified the prompts within the guidelines from the California Department of Education. And that is really your update on what's going to be included in those plans you're going to look at later. So I am happy to answer any questions.
Board members, any questions from anyone? Seeing no hands, thank you, Dr. McCormick.
You're
for the
welcome.
plans. Thank you very much. I think we've read through them, we've seen them. So thank you. All right. Then we have, I think that's yours too, the school safety plan update.
It
Yes.
is. So let me go ahead and share a new screen with you. So I spoke with you, oh my goodness, we were face to face. So it was a while ago. And we talked about the requirements that are going to be part of the school safety plans. So these won't be of a surprise to you. We talked about many of these elements in a lot more detail, and the schools have been working very hard to pull all of the elements together, meet with their school teams, develop plans, and then share them with all their stakeholders to get input. So I wanted to share with you a couple of the items that the plans are now including. So we worked with a contractor named ICS for Schools, and he came in and helped each school site develop all their evacuation routes. He did drone footage for everyone and created these maps. He did campus walks with them, he and his team, to be able to do all this identification. In each of the plans, he developed labeled diagrams so they knew, and I walked the Rancho Del Paso site with him. He actually took their safety committee over and showed them how to shut the gas off, how to shut the electrical off. We really talked about when fire and ambulance were to come on campus, what's the best way that we can support them having access to buildings. So it was a great conversation and very collaborative to help develop these plans. And they also talked about, so you saw one side with more of the gas shut off. Well, we also had to talk about where would parents check in, where would students be evacuated, where would a triage area be. So working with Joe and his team with the ICS, they, for every one of our sites, have put together these different maps that they have in their school site safety binders, as well as trained them on ICS procedures, walked them through several different scenarios so that they feel that they have a good understanding of if something were to happen, what they would do. And one of the requirements of the plans that was new this year is they had to be in collaboration with our first responders. So we appreciate and want to affirm Sac Metro Fire for being so integral and helping us put these plans together. Okay. So unfortunately, we weren't able to finish all of our work with ICS for schools because we didn't quite finish all the trainings before we were pushed to shelter in place, but they have reached out to us and we are in the process of finishing those up for those sites that didn't have a chance to have face-to-face. And he will come back and do some of those more site-based drills once we can do that. He is supporting and working with Eric on the calendars and making sure we have all the logs for the appropriate evacuations, because those are checked by our fire partners. And then we're just continuing our updates in preparation of, because you're approving their 2021 plan, they're going to start working on their 21-22 plan to bring to you next fall. Okay. And that is your safety update.
Okay, board members, any comments? Yes, Mark Sanderson.
Christine, so we have safety committees set up at all of our schools, right?
Correct.
Yes.
All right. So, and I know you said that you're trying to develop the calendar for these drills. Is ICS going to participate in observing how those drills go and then give feedback?
Yes, that's part of the work that he does. And that's sort of the next step we unfortunately didn't get to. So
sure.
All this mapping, he shared that, then he'll come back and they'll run a drill and he'll give them feedback. The other piece that he'll do is do some what he calls tabletop exercises and walk them through several scenarios so they have a chance to practice the ICS protocols.
Okay. And then do they have, do the individual schools have they developed any kind of relationship with the local first responders? Do they have any connection with any of those, like the fire department or, okay.
Yeah, that was actually a requirement of the plans, is they had to be built collaboratively. And I do appreciate that. Joe, who owns the company ICS for School, is a retired firefighter, and he contracts with local firefighters. So he has a lot of relationships. They have a whole brotherhood. So that helps. He was really helpful in making some of those connections for us.
Good. Thank you.
And Christine, I really appreciate all of the work that went into all of the plans. They're very extensive, and having to designate certain people for different projects and what have you. Probably using the wrong word, but it was very extensive how it was done for each of the schools. So I appreciate knowing that people are in place and everyone knows what his or her responsibilities will be in terms of safety if there is a an area where they have to go into action. So I appreciate having all of that information. They were very extensive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, board members? Okay, seeing none. Thank you again. And my accolades to all of the principals in the schools. It's a lot of work. I was reminiscing when I was a principal, we didn't have quite as much to do as it is now. So it's interesting reading. Okay. If there are no other comments or questions on that item, we shall move to 4.3, GCC Schools Reopening Update. Is that yours, Mr. Sample?
Yes, it is. So thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Peterson. Good evening. We wanted to, Dr. McCormick and myself wanted to share with you, just as we've been doing, an update of where we are in terms of our school reopening plans and the work that we're doing with each of our principals. So just to take you back and remind you kind of where we are. Sacramento and Yolo County, both of them remain in red as of today at about 10:09 a.m. And just to remind you what red means, it means that we're still in the substantial, though we are definitely out of the widespread, and we continue to track and see which way our numbers are trending in the county. So what does that mean? Some of the things that we've been doing, just to recap for you, we have been working with each of our school sites and our principals around the individualized school plans. And these school plans are really driven and developed based on the surveys that went out to parents when we first moved from purple into red. Yes, Bruce, did you wave your hand? Okay, sorry. And that was to be able to really take the opportunity to get their feedback. So one of the things that we found within our survey, as we shared some preliminary data with you before, is really most parents and our stakeholders wanted a phase-in plan. So all of our plans focus on high need populations such as SPED, foster youth, homeless youth, ELs, being that first group. Obviously with SAVA, the CTE students coming back in small cohorts. And then we're really working hard to balance the face-to-face content with distance learning. I will tell you, Dr. Peterson shared doing her report regarding Gateway International School, where they are bringing in their first phase, which is their TK through second grades. And it was really exciting to see the balance that they had in terms of the work that the teacher was doing face-to-face with the students in class, as well as those students who were still remaining in distance learning. And then ultimately, all of us are working hard to ensure that we're evaluating the safety, cleaning protocols. Aaron Thornsberry, our CBO, has been working very closely with Twin Rivers around food services in terms of really making sure that our students are fed, not only those who are in distance learning, but those who are kind of beginning to come on. So where are our plans now? Our plans are currently being reviewed by the Sacramento County Public Health Department, are for EPIC, the Yolo County Public Health Department. And what the Public Health Department is doing is they're going through and they're giving what's called review and comment. They're commenting on the areas where they feel that we're strong and the areas where we may need to make changes. And so we're really excited. They've been very forthcoming in terms of even wanting to do site visits with their public health nurses just to come out. And again, as they said, it's not punitive in any way. It's really more supportive as we all work together. So ultimately, we're all beginning the process. I just kind of want to share some pictures with you. Obviously, GIS with their hip hip hooray, it's our first day. One of the things that we have been very intentional about, and that is when our students return, we want to create an environment, even though they're coming back to what feels like a sterile place, we still want them to see that we love them, we care for them, we miss them. And so, the social emotional piece is very strong for us as our students return back. And that's been very key, even through distance learning, that we continue our reach of capturing kids' hearts and our love. And so you'll see from the pictures here, outdoor seating, in tents, as well as very spaced out. Our staff at Higher Learning Academy, they still continue to serve our families that are in distance learning by giving them packets, new technology going in at EPIC in terms of smart boards. And then Sava, I love it. It says, "We missed you, please remember." And again, encouraging all of our students and families as they come back on to maintain the social distancing, wear the mask, washing hands, so that again, we all stay safe. One of the areas that I kind of want to highlight for you today, in addition to us reopening, has been our community engagement and outreach. The work that we have been intentional in terms of talking to our community, letting them know what's happening. Community Outreach Academy, elementary and middle school have been doing over the last few weeks, parent Zoom meetings and workshops, again, letting their parents know what's happening, what's going on, what to expect. Futures High School, you'll see pictures there of the banners that we have around our entire community, letting our community know that at Gateway Community Charters, we care. And these are at our school sites as well as just kind of in our general neighborhood. We have a few in Del Paso Heights, which has been identified as one of the higher at-risk areas. And again, it's Gateway saying that we care and we're here to support our community and our families. Whether they are students or not, we care about our community. Director Terekov and myself have been spending a little more time on the radio, again, talking directly to our parents, letting them know what to expect in terms of plans. And again, that we want them and we're looking forward to having them back. Sacramento County continues the goal of trying to turn Sacramento orange. If you read the newspaper today, you'll probably read that we're not going to turn it orange by Halloween, but the move to turn Sacramento orange by November. So as we say, by Thanksgiving now. So I guess they should turn that to a turkey, is still the goal for our collective group as we work together. So some of our next and ongoing steps, I think very early on, Dr. Peterson coined this phrase that quite honestly, we all use now, and that is everything is very fluid. It's always changing. So myself, Dr. McCormick, our school nurses are attending multiple ongoing meetings with both Sacramento County and Yolo County Public Health meetings and trainings. Plans have been developed at each school site utilizing both the state and the county guidance as a framework. And those plans have been sent to the various public health departments for review. Dr. McCormick and myself continue to meet individually with each principal to review those plans and to make changes as guidance change, so that again, we're making those changes and we're being very fluid as we go through. We continue to monitor our authorizing districts, and not only are we looking to see what they're doing, but also our surrounding districts, just to continue to see what their plans are as they return back. And then our work around communication to staff and parents continue to be a high priority for us as we continue. With that being said, are there any questions that I can answer for you regarding our brief reopening?
I can't see hands.
Oh, let me.
Jack. Okay, Jack.
Yes, Jason, God forbid, but if a staff person or a student and so forth were to come down with the virus, what you talked about contingency plans, have we talked to the counties or the school districts about what would action would take then? What's the steps that we would take in that particular case?
So yes, Director Turner, one of the things that some of the many trainings that we have been going through and going to has been around how do you handle if a staff member contacts COVID or test positive, if a student tests positive, what are those steps? And so we actually have something that's called a decision tree that walks us through. If this happens, this is what you do. If that happens, this is what you do. And I will tell you, public health has been very kind to uniformize that all the way across all schools in the county so that we're all working from that same premise. And thus far, it has worked well.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark. Mr. Anderson. Boardman Anderson.
Jason, can you just kind of just briefly walk me through when students are returning to campus? Are we going to be taking their temperature as they walk through the gate? I mean, what's the protocol that we're going to be following?
So the Sacramento County public health guidance is very clear in that area, in that students as well as staff need to self-monitor their symptoms. So really, when they come to school, they have already taken their temperature at home. They have already said that if I'm sick, if I have a temperature, if I'm not feeling well, I'm staying home and I'm not coming to the campus. We
Okay.
do have spaces on each of our campuses where they're called isolation rooms, where if a student should become sick during the day, they would go to the isolation room. But staff and students, they basically self-monitor that prior, and that's straight from the guidance.
And so then we're, as part of these parent communications, we're kind of going through the rules of engagement with them, right? So that they clearly understand, you know, what their responsibilities are prior to their students returning to school.
That is correct. Yeah, that is one
We
of
don't-
the, I'm sorry, that is one of the main parts of our plan is the parent education piece
Okay.
about what parents need to do in this area.
And parents also have an option if they want to continue with virtual learning or at home online, they have opportunity to do so. They are not pressed into coming if they feel uncomfortable. Is that correct, Jason?
That is correct.
I appreciate the fact
Thank
that
you.
said, I'm sorry.
I
Oh,
was just
Mark.
saying, thank you.
Bruce, I'm
Thank you.
sorry, Bruce.
If they choose to continue from home, are they actually participating in the ongoing class at school, or are they taking different kinds of classes?
So this is where I think our unique role of not having one GCC plan. Some of our plans, the student and the teacher, the student may be at home, the teacher is in class with their students, and they're all going together. And then there's others where there are some teachers who are just working with distance learning students and other teachers who are working with students who are on site. So it really kind of depends on the school site's plans and needs.
Did that answer your questions? Any other? And as I've been using Dr. Peterson's word to its fluid. So we just wait each day to see what's going to happen because every day changes. But I'm really glad, one thing you said, Jason, is that the public health people are really interested in viewing and working with you. So that's a good thing. So they will truly keep you abreast of what's happening. So I appreciate that.
Yes, we definitely agree. And I will tell you, we all should write a book for 2020 called Very Fluid. And we'll give Dr. Peterson credit for that.
Yeah, I've been using her statement as I'm meeting with AXA people. So whatever happens, it happens. Anything else, board members, on this item? Thank you again, Jason, Christine, Aaron, because you guys have been working with the district, with the schools, and we appreciate all your work, trying to make sure that parents and everybody else is kept abreast of what's going on. So thank you. All right. Seeing no other comments, no other hands, then we will move right into our next items, which would be the consent agenda items. 6.1, adoption of the minutes from the October 13th meeting, personnel consent agenda. 6.3, 2021 comprehensive support, which we just heard about. 6.4, school safety plans, which we just heard about. Futures High School revised curriculum, and that's on their Calston plan. Purchases over 30,000 and surplus equipment for sales, donations, or disposal. So those are the items on the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion and a second.
I move approval.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. May I have a second? Mark, you still muted. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Second.
Yes. Thank you. A second by Mark. And any other discussion, questions, comments on the consent agenda items? Seeing no hands, hearing none, then we will call roll call for a vote. Anderson,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Mandrick,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Campbell, yes. The consent agenda items have been approved unanimously. Okay. So now we are moving down to item 13, announcement of the next board meeting.
12.
Next board meeting will be November the 10th, 2020 at 4:45. And I'm asking that hopefully everyone will be there. I will be out of the city at that time. So we're asking for quorum. Will everyone be there for that meeting? All the others. I see head nods. Great. Okay, so I think we will have a quorum. Thank you. And now we are going to go into closed session. Oh, closing comments before we do that. I'm sorry. Any closing comments, board members? And yes, I appreciate working with Dr. Peterson at the GIS PPPY meeting with the reviewers, and it was a very positive meeting. So I thank you for having that opportunity, Mark, and I know that you were there also. You have any
Yes.
comments?
No, I mean, I think it went really, really well. And I think that the people that were doing the actual auditing, I find it so difficult that they're doing this virtually.
Yes, I know.
You
wanna
know,
be
it's
there.
just,
Yes,
it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but they were great. They asked a lot of good questions, right,
Yes.
Dr. McCormick? Yes.
great. One of the things that was said, Jason, about GIS opening up, bringing in some students, when can we start visiting, or is there, you'd rather for the board members to stay away for a while, Dr. Peterson, or what is the plan at this point? Anybody
So
know?
Well, can I jump in,
Mhm.
Mr. Sample? We are certainly not encouraging anyone to go on campus who's not being regularly tested.
Okay,
So that would be the first thing, because public health, even before any of us can go on campus, we have to be testing every 2 months, as I understand it, and
okay,
at least once before we go there. And then secondly, I'm trying to figure out the most polite way to say, if you're in any of the vulnerable categories,
mhm.
we would
Oh,
discourage you. I didn't say
oh,
that.
just say it.
But if you're in any of the vulnerable categories, we assume you should probably delay at this time
Okay.
until the COVID progression of to a healthier place. I would discourage at this time board members while we wait and see how the numbers progress.
All right.
That's my personal opinion. Mr. Sample, would you weigh in terms of it?
yes, it's exactly everything that you shared. And also the county guidance does not actually allow us to have visitors
Okay,
on campuses at this time, because then you
Great.
become part of our numbers that we need to monitor. So
okay. Thank you for that. It just crossed my mind as we talked about students and programs opening up on a limited basis. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on that. Okay. And so, any other closing comments, board members? Oh gosh, no, I don't see any hands. So I guess we will now break for closed session, employee personnel matters pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. And we will return back to our meeting after this closed session is completed. So would you put us out?
So Mr. Sample,
Yes.
closed session and Madam President, closed session is going to include myself, Mr. Sample, and Dr. McCormick, just so that we know.
Very good. Thank you.
okay. Okay, Blythe, I will make you the host, and then if you will push me into the breakout room, please.
If you wait, we will be invited back into our breakout room. We'll just wait till that. I do not believe we are yet in a break.
It's hard sending people home.
Blythe, if you'll make me host again, I can pull the rest in.
Welcome back, everyone. We are all back, and I will put in no action was taken in closed session, informational item only. So with that, is there anything else good for the organization for tonight? Any other comments? Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn, and Lily, you have a safe trip.
Thank you so much. And I want you guys to be very good next month now and do everything you're supposed to do. Okay. All right. Do I have a second for adjournment?
Second.
It has been moved in second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Bye.
Okay. And with that,